Hi everyone, I'm Soleh and today I would like to demonstrate on my attempt on connecting the ESP8266 into the server and save the configuration into the EEPROM. So I will be giving a brief explanation on how it works, the parts that I use, the schematic that I design, and finally a short demonstration on how the interface will work. So for this system, it is developed using ESP8266 microcontroller to integrate the storage in the EEPROM and the web-based configuration for the IoT applications. The system utilizes EEPROM to store Wi-Fi credentials and the last output status of the servo motor. Initially, the ESP8266 operates in access point mode or AP mode and allowing the users to connect and access a web interface. And through this interface, users can input and save their desired Wi-Fi settings and server position. Upon saving the configuration, the ESP8266 writes the data into the EEPROM and reboots, applying the new settings. The microcontroller then attempts to connect the specified Wi-Fi network using the stored credentials and restore the server to its last known position. The specific parts that I will be using is X266 node MCU board, specifically the second version, and then the Tower Pro SG90 microserver, and finally a breadboard to connect the wires into the data pin. A total of 5 wires will be used, two for the power, two for the ground, and finally a single cable for the data from the servo to connect to the ESP board. So here's the freezing schematic. The brown wires will be the ground wires, the red one will be the power wires, and finally the orange single wire will be the data wire. So all of these are male to male jumper wires. So the red and brown ones will connect to the upper section of the breadboard, yet the data cable will directly connect to the ESP board. Now I will proceed to the demonstration of the code. So now we have the two files. .ino is to execute the system on the ESP, and the page index is for designing the web interface and the process to save the server status. So for the ino file, we have the array to store Wi-Fi ID and password, the handler for the web interface, the server, the save configuration of the Wi-Fi credentials, and the server status. So when I run the code, which is already running for now, we will go to the local host, and here's the web interface. So here I leave a slider to just check the rotation on which side the server will go. So more than 90 will lead to an anti-clockwise rotation, and below 90 will be the clockwise rotation. So when you try to connect to the Wi-Fi and a legit password, and then you set the angle. Let's say I want to turn it to 132, which would be anti-clockwise. When I click save, the code will check whether the Wi-Fi credentials are legit, and then save the latest position of the servo. But in case that there are problem, let's say wrong password or so on, when I click it, the code again will check for the Wi-Fi credentials. In case it fails, it will restart into AP mode and the servo status will be reset. So that's about it. For further details, you can have a look on the GitHub link below for each functionalities and details on how the function works. So here's my breadboard with the Servo 90G, and when first I will check with the slider whether the servo is working properly. As mentioned, for above 90 value, it will adjust to the speed, and the highest value will give higher speed on the right side, and above 90 will lead to anti-clockwise rotation. Let's say I want to save this spacing and direction, so I just put in the Wi-Fi, my own Wi-Fi, the password, and then the value that I want to save. So when I click save here on the code, check on the serial monitor. So it confirms that Wi-Fi is connected, and it will also save the pacing of the servo and the direction. So in case that to check whether it is safe, I will try to disconnect here, and when I try to connect again, it will check for the Wi-Fi configuration, and as you can see, it did save the Wi-Fi configuration and it will rotate. Now what will happen if the Wi-Fi credentials are not legit, which will lead to failure with Wi-Fi connection? So when that happens, supposedly, let's say we put in the wrong pass or incomplete password, and when I click save, check the serial monitor again, and when it fails, it will restart again in AP mode, and the server is not moving. So that's all from me. Thank you for lending your ears.